Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, slaves of the global plantation. The Vinny Eastwood Show is bad news. It's like the news, but worse. It's the lighter side of genocide. Just because we're being exterminated doesn't mean we can't enjoy it. Otherwise, what's the point of being killed? The Vinny Eastwood Show, where the only thing worse than living in a high-tech global police state run by child-trafficking Satanists is Vinny's jokes. I mean, seriously, they're just awful. And my very special guest joining me today is Noreen Helphand, Wild at Heart. Noreen, good day to you.
Well, it's daytime here in Southern California. So good day, good evening to you in the other part, in the other area of the world, in New Zealand. Hello.
Now, for those who aren't aware of you and your work, could you please tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is you do?
You know what? As far as the movement for talking about the truth and similar similar topics as such, I've been on Revolution Radio for foremost. I wanted to mention that first, for about maybe 8 years now. So that has been an interesting time, and I'm still on there. So I was introduced to that station through Douglas Dietrich, and he's a little bit of a controversial figure. We won't go into him, but anyway, so I became his co-host, and then I got my own show. I've always been interested in, research, the truth, things related to our society, which includes politics, health, so forth. And what else? I have, as a result of having a spot. Oh, yeah. My show actually is on tonight, which is my time, 9 p.m. here on the West Coast, on Revolution Radio. So if you pull up Revolution, oh, yeah. I don't know if you have the link there, Vinny, but if you pull up the Revolution Radio website, which is freedomslips.com, you can go in there and you can pull up the schedule for Studio A, and you'll see Wild at Heart at the top, because the server for for Revolution Radio is at freedomslips.com, and it's at the East Coast, which is 3 hours ahead of me. So that would be 12 midnight Tuesday, Studio A. And there are listen-in lines. I could give them to you in a little bit. Or if you go on the website, you can see the listen-in lines. You can listen in from your phone if you don't want to go on the website. So we know that station's been around for like 11 years. So it's been pretty good. It's been, informative and stuff like that. So I've had my show Wild at Heart on there for about 8 years. And then as a result, I have a YouTube where I just post mostly archives of my show, but not every show that's archived is on my website, but that's on YouTube, and that's not my website, but my channel on YouTube, and that's called Noreen Helphand, apostrophe S, Wild at Heart. So if you just type in, my name is spelled Noreen, and last name is Helphand, HELP as in Peter, HAND. And then Wild at Heart is the name of my show on Revolution Radio, and the name of my YouTube channel as well. And I am on Facebook. If you just type in Noreen Helphand, I will come up on Facebook, so you can friend me. And I'm on Instagram too with the same name. So that's pretty much about how to connect with me. But as far as how I got into this and what I do, well, what I do is I'm a caregiver, but I've had other jobs. Right now I'm taking care of my mom, and I have a few what they call patients/clients. I'm not a nurse, but I do caregiving. I used to do other jobs. Don't want to get too much into it. I did mortgage banking. I was a receptionist for kind of the general office for business. I did a teacher's aide, massage therapy, all kinds of things. But right now I'm just taking care of family and some clients, and I'm still doing my show. I got my YouTube, and like I said, my whole life has been like a seeking journey of truth, and to help myself and other people with what's really going on in our lives. in society.
How has society affected you to make you decide to go and do this for a living? Because talk radio is a highly atrocious field. It's said that 90% of people who start doing a talk radio show don't make it the first month. And those who make it the first month, 90% of them don't make it the first 6. And those who make the first 6 don't make the first year, you know, and so on and so forth. And you've been doing it 8 years. I've been doing it like 15. You know,
Wow.
It takes a very special type of person, and you have to have a reason for it.
You know, I think I've been told it's because I'm very genuine. Like, I'm not really like a fake person, right? I mean, you and I never met in person, but the thing is, you know, I'm very like genuine. I'm interested in people and things, you know, and events. And so I think when I speak on the air, whatever the venue is, I think I'm a little bit direct. I'm not really like aggressive or harsh or like too pursuant, but I am very honest and I'm very genuine. And I think that's why people like me because they know I'm not going to like beat them up on air. I'm not really a person to do that. And I also do a variety of topics, Vinny. I mean, I talk about everything that affects us in our society. Like I said, it can range from health, politics, astrology, what else? Current events, some news topics. Let me see. Yeah, nutrition, just this and history and societal events. So I'm pretty varied in my topic manner. Yeah.
Well, let's think about this for just a moment while we just take a moment to thank our sponsors for today's show, because obviously we can't do the show without those. So first up, ladies and gentlemen, we're with Noreen Helphand here, Wild at Heart on YouTube and Facebook, and you're listening to the Vinny Eastwood Show at thevinnyeastwoodshow.com. That's Vinny with a Y because it's the most important question, and Eastwood, like, go ahead, make my news. And if you go to the VinnyEastwoodShow.com and click on the donate tab, you will come to this page which you see on screen where donors can request a guest, have a private call with Vinny, get Vinny's help with your media project or idea, and also get access to the Secret Donors Club on Facebook. And you can donate through PayPal, KiwiBank, and you can also become a Patreon of my band, Vinny and the Vendettas, in order to support the show that way. And if you've already donated, click at the link at the bottom of the page to get all those rewards there. Yeah, we encourage people strongly to set up automatic, regular, weekly, or monthly payments, however much or however little as you deem the show is worth to you, because ultimately we do it because it needs to be done, and there ain't really anybody else doing it. So let's just support the people who are ultimately. Now, secondarily, we have our sponsor, and I need to bring up something special for today's show as well on the camera here. It's holdenhealthcare.com, and he's a naturopathic oncologist specialist in hard to treat cases. So if you've been suffering from cancer and you need somebody to help you get out of the medical ringer where they give you one medication, then another medication, and they just keep counteracting and making each other's worse, then think about going to holdenhealthcare.com, where his team with over 100 years experience in the field actually gets to know you and the things that are affecting your health in order to help the body heal itself. Additionally, the Vinny Eastwood Show does not encourage the breaches of COVID-19 rules and whatnot. However, we are sponsored by Reopen.nz, a directory of anti-mandate, pro-choice, all-inclusive businesses in New Zealand. And if you want to add your freedom business to there, go to reopen.nz and join the diverse different disciplines and businesses that have put their names up there to stand up and be counted. They want to reopen New Zealand and stop with all of these things. Now, additionally,
the wonderful Julia has been putting up the archives of the Vinny Eastwood show up on the vinnyeastwoodshow.com show archives page. So if you go to the homepage, click on show archives, the tab up there, and you'll be taken to see all of our recent shows with people from New Zealand and around the world. And hopefully you'll enjoy the backlog of content, because it really is timeless when you're talking to people about things in general. And so hopefully you and your children can listen to these for years to come. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of shows out there, with even with people like David Icke and Mark Passio. The David Icke and Mark Passio Together show, that was amazing. Now we're also, excuse me, I also need to message somebody on Skype for a moment to let them know that we're actually live, because Gaz over at People for People Radio is supposed to be broadcasting our things. However, I think there's a mix-up with the schedule. There's only going to be like Thursday nights or something like that. But ultimately, it's good to have another sponsor, and we're going to have, I think, Wednesday and Thursday shows. That's in New Zealand when we go live at 10:30 a.m. local time. Will also be broadcast on the People for People radio network. So you can look for People for People online and sign up to become a member. You have to be a member to listen to it, and it is a private radio station. So Dr. Rima Labo, her show is on there, and also Billy TK respectively. So go to peopleforpeople.com. I think it's .com. Let me just double check that. It's peopleforpeople.ning.com. peopleforpeople.ning.com. Sign up to become a member before you can actually get access to the thing, and then they've got all sorts of things in there for people to enjoy.
Great Hall at Sydney University is where I witnessed the most heinous human.
We were getting the radio feed playing there in my ears for just a second. Sorry about that. Okay, so let me see. Where are we up to? I need, there's one more thing I need to do. One moment, please, guys. There we go. And the message has been sent to the network. So everything's all gravy on that end. And now we're going to return to our guest, Noreen Helphand from Wild at Heart on YouTube. Thank you so much, Noreen, for joining us.
Thank you.
So you talk about general issues and things that are affecting society. Like, there's many little passion issues that I've got, whether it be, if somebody could come up and ask me a question about a topic, I'd be able to rattle off many, many different topics well and decently, because I've been affected by them, and I've done my research into them. Well, what would one be for you?
Gosh, there's so many numerous crucial topics right now, situations right now that we're going through. I call the vaccine, just to let you know ahead of time, I call it the jab, because I try to make a habit of calling that by that term, so that, if there's a censorship issue with anything, that way I'm not using the V word, I'm using the J word, the jab. So anyway, the jab circumstance or situation is obviously a big one, right? I mean, that's huge. That's probably one of the most foremost ones right now.
And we can't even discuss it on air. We can't even discuss it on air because we'd get censored. It's like Voltaire said. You find out who rules over you. What was it? Find out who you're not allowed to question. That's who rules over you, or words to that effect.
Right.
So moving on. Next topic.
Yeah. Well, so we're really not allowed to talk on your show about that at all?
Oh, no.
Even if I use the term jab?
I think it's like if we use analogies and things like that, because it's like, there's generalized things that really work and don't trip off the censors, but being very specific and going through the evidence and things like that. They don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to spout off science so much, but I just say the jab and what they're trying to do politically with it. That's, I go down that path sometimes with it. But I mean, I think it's safe to say that a lot of countries are, being pressured, especially with that Davos conference, or the, one of those conferences that happened recently. where they basically said if a country doesn't get on board, they will be punished, right? So that's a big deal. I mean, things like this, but besides the jab issue, there's the political issue, the societal cultural issue related to politics and or mind control / cultural influences, right? There's numerous things, right, that are going on and they seem to have been amped up in the last 2 years. I think most of us would agree.
All right.
Yeah.
What's interesting about it is that it's not really doing anything new. Like I was watching a DVD that I put out in what was it, 2008, 2009 or something like that, during the swine flu epidemic, and you could have just replaced swine flu with whatever's going around right now in the documents, and the exact same things were being talked about. Frontline police being given treatments and staff and all of that kind of thing, and pandemic definitions being changed and so on and so forth. It's just same stuff, different day, and it's been difficult for many people who've woken up within the last 2 years to process this. But for people who've been awake for a long time, it's more of the same. It's just accelerated in such a way that we're not, in some cases, emotionally or financially or physically prepared for it.
Right. So true. So true. And I want to say this. These are things that we know that are going on outside of our personal lives. But I think in the last 2 years, it's really been the external world with all these issues we just brought up, right, have now permeated into our personal lives. That's been a really huge change, I think.
Yeah, it's torn families apart and stuff like that, And I know somebody was telling me about how their family kicked them out of their own home because they didn't take it, and all of this sort of stuff. So, you go classic cult indoctrination. What do you do to your cult members? Well, you isolate them, and you give them a lot of stress and trauma, and you give them a silo mentality. So anybody who thinks outside the language of the cult and the centralized doctrine that they've got and the central authority figure that they've got is a bad person who's not good enough, And
yes.
So like when I tell you those classic cult indoctrinations, ladies and gentlemen, and you realize that, oh my God, they've been using that on us. Yes, because those things work. Okay.
Yeah.
If you've got a threat coming at you from every orifice of your body, I guarantee you're not going to be trapped in a higher thought function. You're going to be trapped in a very low vibration indeed, and you're going to do whatever somebody promises will keep you safe, including getting yourself enslaved and subsequently exterminated.
Yeah. Wow. You said it, I don't want to say beautifully, but wow. That's so true. That is so true. So true, Vinny. Wow. Think about 20 years ago, however time frame you want to look at. Wouldn't it be inconceivable to think that your own family members or whoever you're living with or being around a lot would basically ostracize you and or kick you out of their circle, the home, because of the J issue, right? The jab issue, and or we couldn't even believe that. If that was being said 25 years ago, guess what? In about 25 years, people are going to be like doing this to people. You'd be like, no way, really? I'm saying your average person, maybe not me and you, just kidding, or your listeners, but your average person would be like, no way. No way. And then look at these other things. The politics here in the U.S. I mean, I don't want to talk about New Zealand politics. I don't know a lot about it. Sorry. But, for example, the U.S. political situation, which, by the way, is a very, very, what do you call it? Followed situation all over the world. People are interested in what goes on politically in the U.S. So that's something that has split families apart. That. and the jab and other things going on too that just, oh, and you can even extend it to homeschooling, transgendered and CRT issues taught in the schools, at least here in the States. And that can split up family apart too, right? Because one parent says, no, this kid is going to be going to public school and learning about transgenderism and CRT, and the other parent's like, no, right? So think 25 years ago or whatever, the jab, the politics, the school issues, the cultural issues would not split people apart to this degree.
Yeah, well, because you just got to have it massaged, all right? It's like, hey, look, guys, they're not going to split up everybody over the swine flu, okay? We tried in 76, didn't work. Why don't we try splitting them up over monkeypox? Why don't we try splitting them up over camel cough? Or why don't we try to split them off of squirrel sneeze? Or whatever the frickin' stuff they're cooking up in the lab next, you know? Some kind of like rabid squirrel poster or something like that, foaming at the mouth with a huge boogers coming out of its nose.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's getting into that like primary fear of something like that, you know? Like, oh, there's a monkey coming at me. And you're like, oh, thank God. You know, and it's a bat coming at you. And you're like, oh my God. It's the oh my God virus. Oh my God. You know, it's just a big show. And you know, Hollywood's been making horror movies for ages. And I think that they've finally tapped out exactly what's going to freak people out, exactly what's going to coerce them into a corner to give up all their liberties and their freedom or something like that. And they finally figured out, hey, we just pushed this button. and then people are like, oh yeah, but we've got to protest, we've got to save our rights and things of that nature. It's just like, you protesting against people who've got this button, who can use it and press it any time that they want. Okay? I mean, have you heard of the Dark Ages? Do you have any idea what happened to people who questioned the church? Okay? This is the new church. This is the new dark Vatican belief system that will indoctrinate people into killing their own pet cats if they so wish it, because it's dangerous. And then in so killing their own pet cats, they get too many rats who have too many fleas, who've got too much plague, and then you've got a frickin' dark age. That's what's happening here. We're about to frickin' go into a dark age because people have got themselves indoctrinated in the ways that human beings have always been indoctrinated for thousands of years by ruthless criminal sociopathic scumbaggery who have got a button and know how to use it and know exactly how to play their game. And we don't know how they're playing their game. Not in the main, we don't. And so to tackle this insurmountable conquest of consciousness, we have to radically reevaluate all the things that we are doing, all the things that we are saying, because whatever we're doing, whatever we're saying, ain't working. Or at least it ain't working fast enough. It ain't working well enough. People are dying left, right, and centre, or so-called, you know, left, right, and centre for all manner of different reasons. The pandemic, least of the issues, you know. They want to create a society where it is a sci-fi freaking nightmare. That's why all the sci-fi films that you see have always some kind of dystopian things where everybody's tracked and traced and tagged and controlled by machines, or in some kind of a post-apocalyptic wasteland where a machete's your most advanced weapon that you got. You know, this way the video games too. We are being programmed progressively and successfully through the generations to take away our morals, to take away our ethics, to take away our intelligence, and to take away our conscience. And it is working beautifully. And so any dark nightmare future that you can possibly conceive of in some sort of science fiction movie, you're going to start seeing reflections of that in your daily society. And we already are.
Wow. Wow, that's very well put. And it's true. Now, here's a question. We do our best to talk about these topics, right? In whatever venue or manner we can. People ask, are we making an impact? I think maybe so, but I think it's almost like it's hard to know. it's hard to know. It's hard to gauge it, to track it, to know. I have actually helped some friends, who started to listen, not just listen to me only exclusively at all, but, start to follow some of the information that I gave them. And it was interesting how they reacted. Very interesting, actually. Positively, which is good. They reacted very well and they learned. But some people seem to be halfway there, right? And then halfway not wanting to understand. I'm not really, we could ask ourselves, why is this? That some people just, why won't they understand what's going on? What's keeping them? What is it that keeps them, from understanding further? It's almost like they can enroll in a college course, right? And whatever, they can learn, but this is a different kind of learning, right? To understand how things affect human society in general, right? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it's on top of that too, there's, what was it, the 1918 pandemic, the Spanish flu and whatnot, I remember reading things about US servicemen dropping dead after they had that, right in front of a general who, went public about it. And again, people wore their masks, and then the people who didn't wear their masks wound up burying the family members who did. And the people on the bases in the US military, that kind of thing, who were affected by the virus, only the ones who'd been jabbed were. So, I'm not seeing a different run of history. I mean, what if we've got a show reel, as it were, and it runs like this every, I don't know, 5 to 10 years. What does it take? It takes about 7 to 10 years to forget something. All right, and thus every 7 to 10 years there's some kind of crisis. It might be an economic crisis, it might be a fuel crisis, it might be a health crisis, it might be a war crisis, or it might be a political crisis, or whatever. But every 7 to 10 years, one of these things will happen, and they'll be orchestrated by the same group of people who've existed the whole way through, and each of those crises wind up getting one more block on this big, solid pyramid that they want. And now we're reaching the end where they're constructing the last bits of the top of the pyramid. This is the darkness, the solidity of a system that could not ever be challenged. They've figured out how to affect our language in such a way that now people can't even describe the threat that they're facing. If you can't even describe your enemy, how on ever are you going to beat them?
You're right. If they don't even know who it is, right?
It's this hand of the puppeteer all the way up our backsides, and
yeah.
I don't know exactly where I'm going with that thought, but I understand that people don't want to see what they don't want to see. And they're more than capable of lying to themselves and deceiving and distracting themselves until such a time as men with guns come to their door and take them away. It happens over and over and over again. And again, what we're seeing something new, or is it nothing new, or something like that? I believe that it is new, because for the first time in history, mankind has the technology where they can finish the job that every sociopathic dictator throughout the course of human history has ever desired. Complete control over everything and everyone, with their own God in charge. That's what we're going to be seeing, ostensibly.
Yes, it is different in that sense, because the technology enables this situation to occur in that manner that you're speaking. Vinny, since I'm on here and I'm in the States, and I'm not saying I'm sure you have a lot of American guests. Am I correct?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Okay. I don't know how many of them talk about the media and the cultural media uh, situation. I just want to pass that along to you to ask you because I figure, I don't really have like a book to promote. I mean, I have the stuff that you listed for the listeners to look into, uh, but because I don't have an actual document or book to promote, I just was wondering if I can discuss a little bit about what's going on with some local news around my area, if that's okay, because I think it is of interest to everybody, really.
Well, I notice it's the macrocosm to the microcosm is that you look in one little area and you'll find that applies to other things that are going on everywhere.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay, then. So I want to share with everybody an interesting news piece. I've discussed this on my show too, not long ago. But anyway, this was really interesting because this is a local news story. So I live here in Southern California. I'm outside of Los Angeles. So this news story is just outside of LA too, but in the opposite direction where I'm at. Because this is a big area and I'm on the Long Beach, Orange County side of it. This story is Newbury Park. So it's on the other side of LA. Okay, so we're all in this generic general area, vicinity area. So this story is Newbury Park. There's a school district there, an elementary school district. And basically, this is on local news. But I think um, I do believe, Vinny, that it did make national news. I don't know if it hit New Zealand at all or whatever. But basically, what happened is this elementary school is trying to teach, this is not the only school, right, in the US, but trying to teach transgendered studies to elementary school students. Okay. So here's what happens. I don't know. I do not know, for example, uh, graffiti is a common, well, it's actually gone down a little bit in this area. It was pretty big in the 90s here, graffiti artists or whatever, but this was not an artist. Uh, no, this was more like an individual that did this. So there was graffiti that was done on a wall of the outside of this school where the news story was featured. Now, I have to say this. I don't know if this was what you would call a false flag, meaning somebody did this just to create a news story, right? Or if this was just a disgruntled person. But what was written on the wall of the school was a perv, Perv, short for pervert, teaches here. That was what was, written on that side of the school. Again, I don't know who did this, where they didn't say who did it, okay? So the news story was kind of focused on that. But of course, they have to extrapolate, right, about the whole transgendered situation from that. So basically, the news story was, well, this person who did the graffiti is obviously, prejudicial towards the transgendered, right? Or whatever, okay? So that was how the story led. And you have these news people on site interviewing people, and the damn news anchor woman herself, saying, oh, this is so horrible, it's so horrible, right, that this occurred, whatever, I don't know. Maybe somebody's legitimately mad, I don't know, but anyway. So, and then of course she's trying to stir up that type of emotional response to the viewer, how horrible this is, right? It's so non-inclusive, those kind of terms. The biggest part of the story, Vinny, that was whoa, I was stunned, was this woman named Megan, I think it's Goebbels, because it's spelled like that German, Goebbels doctor or whatever, but with one B, not two. His name was with two, right? But same spelling, you take off one B. Her name was Megan Goebbels. Now, when I saw her speak on TV, Vinny, I was like, did I catch her name? Because I can't believe what she's saying, but I did find out the name later in an article. This woman goes on air on TV and says, this is horrible. I have a 7-year-old who's transgendered, and I'm just sad that this is not, we don't have a more inclusive society or something. I'm paraphrasing, okay? She said something to that nature. And I was like, okay, is this like a crisis actor? Is this a real person, right? So I did find an article, maybe if I find it, I'll give it to you. Anyway, about this particular news story. And yeah, I found her name. And this woman is, I don't think she's a crisis actor because she is the head of, check it out. She's the head of the school district's LGBTQ advisory council, right? So, Vinny, this may seem like a nothing story, but look at all the factors and implications and symbolism connected to this story, right?
Well, just to add to it, in New Zealand, in Wanganui High School, where my partner Rebecca's from, the high school that she went to, Wanganui Girls High, they were passing out a questionnaire to the girls, asking them things like, have you ever considered that showing your heterosexuality publicly is making the other non-binaries uncomfortable?
Oh my God!
How do you know you're heterosexual unless you've tried a bisexual relationship?
Oh my goodness!
Stuff like that, and this is just freaking people out, and so it should. I mean, it's about taking the wombs off the chessboard. They don't want people breeding because then there's more competition, isn't there? And, going after the young girls and going after people's just basically sexuality, the ability to breed and stuff like that. They've even got drag queens that get brought into schools now to do story time and things like that. And, kids are looking at porn as young as like 6 or 7 years old. And stuff like that. The moral fabric that kept society together, i.e., the Judeo-Christian doctrine, for lack of a better, analgesic. I'm not sure if that's the correct term I'm using there, but I used it because I thought it was funny. It basically the reason why humanity actually did this thing called expand and develop for a couple of 100 years without religious and social persecution of people who thought outside the norm to a large degree. Now, what's problematic is that it'll be cast back at you and say like, oh, no, they used to not let you swear, they used to not let you do drugs and so on and so forth. Yeah, but what if all those old biddies and stuff like that who've been shaking their fists and saying you young people don't know what's going on, what if they were right? And what if we were playing into the hands of a sophisticated scumbaggery enemy, which old people could see, but we couldn't, because they'd grown up in a society that had a very set rules. There was definite rights, definite wrongs, and obvious rewards and obvious punishments. But now, what's right? What's wrong? You see? What's the punishment? You see, you can get away with pretty much anything in this society because it deems everything as acceptable. There's no objective truth anymore. It's your truth. It's my truth. It's like, no. There's the truth, and everything that you think is subservient to that. If it's not in line with the truth, change your thinking. And this is not something that's taught nowadays. We believe we can argue ourselves out of it. And there's a line from Batman, The Dark Knight Rises, and he says, everybody's trying to outsmart the truth. Well, maybe we should stop doing that and let it have its day.
Well, can I comment on that? I was just going to say that, yeah, I'm not shocked that this is happening also in New Zealand, okay? But I really feel the reason they attack the West, they, meaning this agenda and those behind it, think about it. If you go to Mexico or if you go to Nigeria, okay, or even parts of Asia, they're not doing this. Well, I have to say in Japan and Korea, a little bit, but not to this degree, not even close, okay? Maybe in a different way too, a little bit. But in a lot of societies, they don't do it because they know the people will say no. The biggest problem in the West, Vinny, is there's not enough common everyday people. Well, there is some, not enough saying no. That's why they're able to do this. Truthfully, I think.
Well, it's about taking personal responsibility ultimately, because when you tell the truth about who you are and what you're doing and that kind of thing, often you come up short. The stories that you tell yourself and the stories that you tell other people are often not based on the highest intentions from which you personally want to get in to people's minds, and we fall short of our own expectations. And so, in order to make up for that, we start placing those unrealistic expectations on everybody else, just so that when they fall short of our unrealistic expectations, we can sit back and say we were right and not have to change. I mean, it's a self-defense mechanism, and addicts and all sorts of people go through this process. Now, ostensibly, what we're addicted to at the moment is spectatorship.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it's very, very easy to watch somebody else having an aggressive conversation with the cops and calling them out, that kind of thing. Not so easy when you're doing it. It's very, very easy to criticize what they should have said and shouldn't have said in that situation in the comment section. Not very easy to criticize your own comments in the process, though, is it? Because one has risk. All right? And there's a principle called the dignity of risk. If you take people's ability to take risks away from them, you rob them of their dignity.
Yeah. Wow. That is so true. That is so true. Risk and like you said, self-responsibility for things. It's just yeah. There's a lot of truth to this, really. And but I mean, it makes us mad. Those of us that are trying to talk about the truth, and people that are, it's like, again, I'm going back to this analogy. They're doing this because they can. There's no other reason. And I think that I have this vision in my head, okay, Vinny, of like these people that are not taking action, if they even know this is happening, which I find it hard to believe that some people don't know, okay, at this point. So if you look at it like, okay, so there you go, some people, they know what's going on, but it's almost like the person looking at the other person going, oh, this is horrible. It's going on. What do we do? Well, I don't know. What do we do? I don't know. Right? It's almost like an demasculization of men, number one, because if men are supposed to protect children or women and their wives and their children, this is an example of them kind of not, right? Because if one man is talking to another man and saying, transgenderism in school, what are we going to do about it? Oh, I don't know. What are we going to do? It's almost like, it's bizarre to me. Okay. I mean, you're a father, you're a male, right? And you make noise about this. You're not going to sit there and go, Noreen and listeners, I don't know. I guess I'll ask my neighbor, but he told me, I don't know. Right? This has become like that.
Well, it's a lack of fear of accountability, ostensibly. I've got a T-shirt on my wall that I'm reading off. The listener sent me in 2010. They sent me a box of T-shirts, Vinny Eastwood Show T-shirts, and a few others. It says on the back with a big V for Vendetta logo, quote, "When the people fear their government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty." Thomas Jefferson. All right, now may we look at what threats the government currently has to fear from the people. Okay, you pass this legislation that takes people's kids from them or genocides them or something like that. The bully comes up to you, says that that's what they're going to do, and then starts pushing you. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? And what did we do about it? We backed off, didn't we? And we allowed them to do it. Okay?
Yes.
Now, what happens in a bullying scenario where the person doesn't want to be bullied anymore, as soon as that person comes within reach, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Bam! They smack them right on the nose. How do you smack
Yeah.
the government on the nose? It's a non-entity. It doesn't really exist, right? And ultimately, it's a branch fabric. It's like a forest full of trees. Okay, it's an abstraction. The forest doesn't really exist. It's just a different collection of trees. A tree exists. You can touch a tree. You can't touch a forest. And so the government is basically the same thing. Now, what I think is basically going on here is that the people in power who do these horrible things experience no direct consequences for their actions. All right? Kind of like the old principle of a family-owned business in a small town. If your family-owned business makes a really crap product and like enslaves people in the town, people are going to spit on your kids when you're walking down the street. But if you are a CEO of a major American corporation and you destroy people's towns and their kids and things like that, are your kids and their name going to be despoiled? Are you going to experience any direct consequences? Or are you going to get a big golden parachute when you mess something up and then continue living life being a scumbag? You are, aren't you? Because one
Yeah.
has direct consequences for their actions that affects their offspring and the other does not. And so until politicians are afraid, like literally afraid to go out the
Yeah.
door and stuff like that because of people waving pitchforks and torches and things of that nature, they literally have no reason to fear you of any kind because
Yeah.
there is no direct consequences that you can give them. What are you going to do? Take them to courts, which they control? You know, oh, we've had this victory here and that victory there. Yes, and while obtaining that victory, you got yourself into monstrous debt and they accomplished 10,000 other objectives with the time it took you to frickin' counteract one. All right?
It almost makes me think that all this quote liberty and freedom or whatever that the United States and or the West purports, there's now theories that this never was real. Like for decades or centuries, they've been trying to control us and then giving us certain kinds of liberties or the illusion of liberty, or freedom, and yet in the end they hold the cards, like you said, in a sense. So I think that part of the problem with this too is if there ever was, and I don't want to be negative, okay, but if there is such a thing as liberty and freedom, in the West or wherever, okay, then it really was up to the people to not be the people themselves not sell out. Because I think that if you look back 100 years ago, there might have been a little bit more personal sway that the masses could have had. If they knew this was going to happen, they'd be like, we're saying no to you right now. Okay. And no, we're not going to fight your wars. Okay. Your banker wars. We're not going to engage in jobs. We're not going to send our kids to schools where we don't know what's being talked about or don't approve of it. We're not going to, be controlled by your advertisements. Right. If people knew that then, I think, it'd be different. There might be a little bit more of a way. What are the controllers going to do? They'd be like, how are we going to control these people now? Right. But see, they've gotten society to a point where, a lot of this has to do with urbanization. Right. I mean, even if you live in a rural area in the West, it doesn't matter. You are still influenced economically, societally from or by this, quote, urbanization mentality, this, urban citizen, urban citizen is more controlled than a rural citizen. But the way they set society up with the banks and everything is now, doesn't matter where you live. You are under this kind of control, as you said. So I think this is why, again, even though we are under high control digitally and monetarily and everything, I think people can still say no. You have to have some kind of hope like that, right? And I think that the more people understand, that that this is what the setup is. For one, people have to educate themselves and understand this is the setup that we're in. This is a setup. So when you look at, okay, now how do we deal with the setup? Then this is how people understand how this apparatus works. That's just an important point to start.
Yeah. I mean, this is how scamming works. You try and scam somebody, and if your scam gets given a name, like snake oil, and then it gets exposed, You take the snake oil underground, you rename it primate oil, and then you come out a few years later and you start selling it again. And before you know it, that scam will be exposed, and then you can just take it underground and then bring it back again. All right? Any scam that works any time can be used theoretically perpetually, just so long as you give people enough time to forget about it. Because then when it returns, it'll appear to be revolutionary, just like any act of esteem that is long and forgotten about. You know, honor, courage, integrity, penance, shame, even. Mm-hmm. These things are really important to understand our humanity as a whole, because it's not very well to just look at people doing bad things and feel angry about it. That's also, you have to look at yourself. What have I done? And should I be feeling bad about it? Do I feel bad about it? What have I not done? Mm-hmm. You know, that kind of thing. A lot of soul searching. And I don't know about you, but I haven't sat down and go, welcome to the evening news. Today, a young man on acid realized that all energy is condensed to a slow vibration, that life is only a dream, and we are the imagination of ourselves. Here's Tom with the weather. You know, you don't. What I'm saying is there's no positive news stories, all right, that can really uplift you and help you change the perspective of what you're looking at. And I believe that this is ostensibly just a massive consciousness trap. I think that there's a possibility that the longer and the more that you consume mainstream media, even if you know it's lies, even if you know it's your job to expose these lies and what have you, the brain doesn't have any firewalls. That stress, that trauma, that anger and everything seeps into your mind and can start driving you crazy until, you know, the truth is the only thing that you can think about. And you can't even have an ordinary conversation with somebody. Baby, do you want the cupcakes with the yellow icing or the purple? 9/11 was an inside job. Can't you see we're all slaves? You see, we're not on a balanced platform here, primarily, right. I think because we've become disempowered. All right, it's not the what should we do about this that therefore matters in terms of the collectivism versus individual. What do I do? And that's not a rhetorical question. A lot of people go, mm-hmm. Oh, what can I do about it? You know, and just go on. Like, no, really think about it. Are you a douchebag attention seeker with the gift of the gab? Become a talk radio show host.
You should do your voice of the cupcake woman voice sometimes. I like that one. Oh, I like that one. That's a good one. That is really funny. It is.
I mean, we're coming down to the end of the show here, so I do need to give my sponsors a wee plug first. But before we go, can you please again run through the apparatus of the Wild at Heart with Noreen Helphand and where people can see you?
Yes, Revolution Radio. My show will be on tonight, my time, here in a few hours. freedomslips.com, Studio A, Wild at Heart. And there, if you go on the website, you can also see the listen-in lines. If you want to listen off your phone, that's kind of convenient. I have a YouTube channel too, same namesake, Noreen Helphand's Wild at Heart. Now, my name is, I use it for my YouTube channel and Instagram and Facebook. So my name is spelled Noreen, and my last name is Helphand, Help as in Peter, Hand. So if you type that into Facebook, Instagram, you'll find me and you can friend me. And also YouTube, it would be Noreen Helphand's Wild at Heart. And I have my archives there. And Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, Wild at Heart show is also on Studio A. So that's how you can find me at this point.
Awesome. And I can see you've just made the 100 subscriber mark. That's a tough milestone to get.
Are you mean for the for which thing?
YouTube.
Oh, yeah. I hope some of your listeners subscribed.
Well,
I hope.
well, we'll see, we'll see. And also on top of that one, I've got to plug my sponsors now. And but before we do that, there's a little video here, and I'm going to see if I can change the audio. You can see my screen, can't you, Noreen?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm just going to change the audio around, and it'll be a bit weird for a little bit while I'm sorting this out. But it means you'll be able to see this video and hear it while we're playing it. This is something that was sent to me by one of my mods, DK. You'll just give us one moment, please, guys. I'll get this video playing. Hold on there, one moment, please.
Getting out of hand, bro. I'm just trying to buy my baby some books, bro. Look at this shit. A is for Allie. B is for buy. C is for coming out. D is for drag. These are children books, guys. These are children books. ML Web, you're disrespectful, bro. My kids are just trying to learn, okay? They're just trying to learn. Why are you writing books like this? Can't they just be kids and learn their regular ABCs? What is going on?
F is still for family, though.
What is going equality? Like, we got a lot. Gay, like G is for gay. Like, we got a lot going on. Non-binary, what? Listen, this is picture books. This is picture books. My 4-year-old don't know what the fuck non-binary is.
L is for lesbian.
They don't know what lesbian is. Why are you writing this, ML Web? You're disrespectful. Read this shit to your own kids.
Orientation.
Bro, they getting out of.
Okay, let's get Noreen's audio back on here. Okay, Noreen. And
That was good.
We are back. Okay, so you think of that. Thank you,
Yeah.
DK, for sending that in because, bro, that's, oh my God.
Yeah, that was really good. I like that one.
Yeah. It's amazing the stuff you can get away with in today's society, you know. It's just like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
nobody cares, bro. Nobody cares. It's just like, no, clearly people care. Clearly people aren't supportive of that kind of thing. And it's just a question of, hey, how long did this happen? You know, over what time frame did this change occur in society? Because in the 1950s, the word homosexual, the definition of which in a public kind of like education video was sexual predator. That's what the definition actually was 60, 70 years ago. Just like the term gay used to mean happy, and now it means homosexual. So let's think about this. How many people who are currently gay have never been sexually abused in their life? Okay? Ponder that question. The implications of the answer to that question are very, very interesting. You suddenly your mind goes, wait a second. You see? Imagine an entire society where pedophilia is okay. Like, all right?
Right.
So back in the day, in societies where they reached the peak of what's called licentiousness, there weren't no morals. There weren't no ethics. And society was therefore chaotic and dangerous. What's happening nowadays? You see? Everything's becoming a little bit more chaotic, a little bit more dangerous. And the solution to all of this is following the principles of natural law. You know? Just simple as that. The more you are moral, the more freedom your society has. The less moral you are, the less freedom your society has. So, you want a good society that has decent order and isn't completely messed up and outside of balance with the natural order of things? Be a good person, you know? It's like if you want good friends, be one. And also wanted to mention that when I came back on air after my internet ban, when I was arrested for protesting for our rights, and then banned from the internet for 6 weeks. Noreen Helphand was one of the very first people that I went on their shows in order to get me my voice out and get some help. And I just wanted to, you know, return the favor and say thank you very much for your awesomeness.
Wow, that's amazing. I didn't know. Well, I think you did say something like that, but I'm like amazed and wow. Yeah, you're welcome. Wow. My goodness.
You're welcome. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening in. And please go to thevinnieeastwoodshow.com/donate.html. If you are a donor, you can request a guest for the show, have a private call with me, or get my help with your media project or idea, and access to the Secret Donors Club on Facebook. And we're working on a little bit of merchandising and stuff on the background here, so that when people make donations, they can be sent out T-shirts or mugs or caps or something of that nature. It's just an idea at this point, and been running through the gamut of trying to sort my frickin' life out amidst the destruction of being arrested. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can purchase, support for the Vinny Eastwood Show by clicking the Buy Now button on that donate page and giving us a few dollars, or perhaps giving us a weekly or monthly automatic payment. And the Kiwi Bank for all the New Zealand listeners is on screen there as well. And you can also become a Patreon of our band, Vinny and the Vendettas, and check out some of our original music. And it's another way to support the show financially after we got banned off of Patreon. Without reason and without notification, actually.
Wow.
You know, like, I got banned from Patreon. Did Patreon tell me I got banned? No, let alone why. I was just suddenly banned.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
Never seen anything like that before. HoldenHealthcare.com, wonderful sponsor. I almost forgot this thing in front of me. Peak Wealth and Wellness, new strategies for a changing world, life hacks, learn life hacks to make wealth and wellness a reality fast. This is going to be at 3 Totara Avenue in New Lynn in Auckland on Saturday the 25th of June, so that's this Saturday, I believe, and I'll be there, ladies and gentlemen, with the cameras and stuff. Rebecca will be there too. And we're going to be having speakers in alternative health and in crypto and decentralized finance by Tony Knight and Gerald Lopez, and the other practitioners that we have here speaking in alternative health, Dr. Lindsay Best, chiropractor, and David Holden, the naturopath and scientist that we have here on screen from holdenhealthcare.com. So you can get door sales for $30 cash only, but if you want to get a ticket for $20, and I'll see if I can actually put this up on screen for us. What is it? bit.ly/PEAK-WEALTH-wellness. Let's get that on screen for us. bit.ly/peak-wealth-wellness. And that link is there on screen, and you can search for Peak Wealth and Wellness on Eventbrite as well and get your tickets there, ladies and gentlemen. Lone Star Tavern, this is actually the last thing. This guy, Brendan, down there at the Lone Star Tavern, he actually spoke out against the mandates when they happened in New Zealand, and the government and the Lone Star Corporation shut him down. So he's lost his house, he's lost his business, all because he wouldn't obey and fire his staff and allowed people who were unjabbed to work there. So, and this is his last thing that he's doing there before he loses the lease. So yeah, he's been doing a number of freedom events there. So get on down to Lone Star at 1:30 p.m. This Saturday, June 25, ladies and gentlemen, for the Peak Wealth and Wellness event, hosted by David Holden, and including many other practitioners. Now, our other sponsor, Reopen.nz, is a directory of anti-mandate, pro-choice, all-inclusive businesses in New Zealand, and you can add your freedom business to this list of amazing businesses all around New Zealand, and help to wake people up to the fact that, hey, it's not just crazy people that are questioning the government, all right? It's actually established business people who have careers and track records that don't want all these mandates and crazy stuff going on, keeping New Zealand closed. Reopen.nz. Add your freedom business today. And of course, lastly, on the archives, Julia has been making a fantastic effort at keeping all the archives up to date on the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. And if you go to any of the archives down there, please support Julia's archiving work, it says, and you can give her one-off donations or a monthly or weekly donations in order to help support those archiving efforts. And you can also donate to her through KiwiBank and Patreon. She came to me after I got deplatformed, and we had like nearly 6,000 videos, 20,000 hours worth of shows and things like that are not on the website anymore at that point. And she's been going through sequentially all the things to get everything backdated, updated, and also the new shows that we're doing, she's uploading them onto Odyssey, BitChute, Rumble, and putting the archives on the onegreatworknetwork.com. In fact, onegreatworknetwork.com, do we have a link for this? Yes, I do. Also want to thank the people at the onegreatworknetwork.com for giving me this platform to be on. And you can check out Vinny Eastwood and all the archives on there as well. So again, thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Have I missed anything out? Yes. People. forpeople.ning.com. Man, this self-promotion thing's going a long time. Sorry, Noreen.
That's okay.
Peopleforpeople.ning.com is a new network based in Scotland there that is getting us... that is giving us a platform as well, and it's easy to listen to, ladies and gentlemen, just audio only, so it doesn't actually break the bank in terms of your data, which is nice and lovely, isn't it? So there we go. Everything's all sorted. Noreen, do you have any final words or additions or anything inspirational or enlightening or something of that nature that you want to give the listeners before we fuck off? You know.
Everybody, I mean, I'm not super religious. However, I do pray a lot now. So let's just keep the good energy and prayers going for all of us. Vinny, I want to say I might have some future guests for you too. I just, I'll text them to you later. But yeah, this has been enjoyable. And everybody just, share with your community, share with your friends, and you don't have to just be really whoa to people. Just kind of, feel it out with them, share your information about the truth with them, and let's just all have a nice cup of tea or coffee together, and talk with people we know about these things. If it's convenient and it works, I think it's worthwhile.
Indeed. All right. Thank you very much, Noreen. And thank you very much, ladies, gentlemen, slaves of the global plantation. The Vinny Eastwood Show is bad news. It's like the news, but worse. It's the lighter side of genocide. Just because we're being exterminated doesn't mean we can't enjoy it. Otherwise, what's the point of being killed? The Vinny Eastwood Show, where the only thing worse than living in a high-tech global police state run by child trafficking Satanists is Vinny's jokes. I mean, seriously, they're just awful.